Brett Smith, Executive Director of Metals X. Mate, thanks for coming to the Italian Riviera. And I know you travel a lot. How often do you come to Italy? Is this on your normal roundabout around the world?
Italy, no. I did live here for 8 months once, down in a little place called Frosinone, halfway between Rome and Monte Cassino.
Okay.
As a young engineer, built a pharmaceutical plant down there and then built an ice cream factory for Unilever in Naples. So I love Italy. I love Italy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, super appreciative of you coming here. I know it's a bit of a trek. Where did you come from? Did you come from Perth?
I came from Tassie, so I was actually down at Renison.
Okay.
Then Burnie to Melbourne, Melbourne to Doha, Doha to Italy, and then a beautiful drive from Milan to here.
Okay. So Brett, you're Executive Director of Metals X. I know you've got lots of other hats you wear. Can you briefly describe those ones and what you're most excited about as you look through the next year?
Sure. Well, Metals X is pretty exciting, but we'll come back to that. I'm also the chair of Mount Gibson.
Yeah.
It's an iron ore producer in Western Australia. It's transitioning from iron ore to gold. It's just bought the 50% of the Central Tanami project from Northern Star.
Right.
That's about a 1.5 million ounce undeveloped project. They're pretty excited about that. Dragon mining in Scandinavia with gold operations in Finland and Sweden. Again, the price of gold's hiding all our sins and we're making good money up there at the moment.
Wow.
And then a couple of little gold exploration plays in Australia and a nickel gold exploration play. I'm directors of those companies as well. First Tin.
Yes.
Excited about First Tin. As Metals X, we bought a reasonable percentage of that. I'm on the board of that. And Elementos, another tin startup with a project in Spain and in Tasmania, also on the board of that. So mixed bag of things.
So if I think about that, you've got three tin companies you mentioned, Metals X, of course, being the most important investable tin company in the world, arguably, and you're the Executive Director of that. And you've got really two other gold companies with a bit of iron ore on the side.
Yeah, and the iron ore company is transitioning to gold. So
Okay.
sort of in a longer term strategy, seeing the tin consolidation and then a gold consolidation. So I'll work to look at what we can do to bring those various companies together across those commodities.
Right.
To increase scale and efficiency.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, why don't you start with tin, seeing as that's what people know you best for. What's happening at Metals X? You've been busy buying tin growth in the last year. You've got your own growth at Renison Tails. What's Metals X going to look like over the next year?
Well, Metals X, if you put together the future and you look at maybe another 6,000 tonne of tin from the Rentails project, which is a tailing reprocessing, and then you look a little bit further ahead and you think of 4,000 tonnes from First Tin, another 4 from Elementos. We're then rivaling the only other major listed tin company down in the Congo, Alphamin. We could certainly build our tin production portfolio to 20,000 tonnes plus.
Right.
So that's the plan. The order that all of those things will happen will be a function of permitting and which project requires funding at a certain point in time. But the longer term plan is to support the growth of those two development companies.
Yep.
And develop the Rentails project in Tasmania.
And there's, I know you're also, Metals X is also trying to buy the minorities of your Renison Bell tin mine through a Hong Kong subsidiary.
Yeah, the operation in Tasmania is a joint venture with the joint venture. So it's a little bit complicated. The other half of the joint venture is 80% owned by a Hong Kong listed company called GreenTech.
Yep. And
20% owned by Yunnan Tin. We'd like to keep the Yunnan Tin guys in, but we made a bid to buy GreenTech on the Hong Kong exchange. We didn't pick up as many shares as we thought, but they're in suspension and will be suspended from. They will be delisted in the end of first quarter next year. So our plan is probably to make another bid for them closer to that delisting. And we'd ideally like to buy 100% of GreenTech to get that other 80% of the other 50%.
Do you think you'll be successful at that?
Depends on how much we offer.
Okay.
Everything is for sale. Yeah, it's just coming to because they're in suspension, you can't do the type of due diligence that you could do on a company that wasn't in suspension. So there could be some skeletons there. So we'll be conservative with our bid. But ideally, we'd like to own 100% of GreenTech.
And that will come to pass in the next 6 or 12 months?
Well, it'll probably won't come to pass till the middle of next year.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's part of part of our major strategy for the growth of our revenue stream from the tin.
And Rentails, when do you commit to that?
Rentails, we've just signed off on the 17 million for the completion of the feed.
1.7.
Yeah, and on the completion of the feed, I'd like to let a lump sum contract so we have cost certainty. And you need to do a lot more engineering than a feasibility study. So we've bitten the bullet and are doing a full detailed feed. So we'll know quantities, we'll know exactly what it's going to cost.
And by when? When do you press the button to actually?
The feed will take probably 6 months.
Okay.
Permitting is still the critical.
Okay.
So I would guess we'll make a decision, an FID decision, middle of next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so doing the work through there. And you mentioned First Tin and Elementos. Is anything important happening either of those two companies?
Well, both of those companies are getting very close to getting their permits.
Okay.
And once they've got the permits, it's then again, I think, firming up the price certainty.
Yeah.
And then working out how those projects are financed.
And do those projects belong inside of one entity, or you leave them independent for the time being and see what happens?
Oh, well, they could be either pathway. And because there's two different plays there, it'll depend on what the other shareholders want to do in those companies.
Yeah.
And what's the best way to finance it. You know, we're generating 70 or 80 million of cash, free cash, from our side of the joint venture each year.
Yeah.
So we're accumulating and saving cash, particularly for the development of this future production, be it Rentails or be it to assist the First Tin or the Elementos guys develop their projects.
And the consideration for the subsidiaries in green tech would be cash or shares?
That would be cash.
Okay.
That would be cash as well, yeah.
So and last time I looked, Brett, at the market capitalization of Metals X, it was 400 odd million Australian dollars.
Yeah, something like that. We've got about 180 cash
Okay.
at the moment, and as I say, we're building at about 80 million a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the company is still remarkably cheap. I mean, I think Alphamin's actually more expensive, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, partially I think because it's a joint venture, Simon.
Right.
Joint ventures tend to be undervalued.
Right.
And tin's an odd commodity.
It is.
We're not a speculative development company.
Right.
And so we're a production company. We put out our quarterlies. We don't sort of spruce the market with every set of drilling results.
You don't
or
run
every
around the
little story.
world telling institutions or retail shareholders
Well,
about
no, we
it.
talk to a selective group of people,
Right.
and we do it because we want long-term shareholders who understand what our strategy is,
Yeah.
not people who are trading in and out of the stock. So we'll talk to people who we think understand what we're trying to do.
And the main shareholders today of Metals X are who?
Main shareholders are APAC,
Yeah.
which is a fund out of Hong Kong, and they've been very supportive. When the company was in breach of its banking covenants, they gave us an unsecured loan, which allowed us to refinance the company. So they've been very supportive and have helped. Metals X was almost insolvent when we took over. Its share price was below 10 cents. It's heavily in debt, in breach of its banking covenants, had assets which were just gobbling up all its money, the copper assets and the nickel cobalt assets. APAC certainly helped and supported us turning that around, selling off the copper, spinning off the nickel cobalt into another listing, and giving us funds which allowed us to refocus and get Renison working smoothly again.
Gotcha. And I think APAC's a common shareholder with Mount Gibson, and you mentioned Dragon Mining in Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I've come from APAC. I used to be the deputy chair of APAC,
Gotcha.
and then the executive director. So I used to help look after that fund, and as a sort of career, as my real job has really been helping fix those investments which have not been performing well.
Okay. Yeah. And does APAC think like an investment company in terms of those investments in these operating companies that sit underneath that you run? So Metals X, Mount Gibson.
They're just a shareholder. They have no direct influence. Okay. They've been supportive for all of those companies. They've been supportive when they needed to raise money, but they don't take an operating input. They don't take an operating step into the companies. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if we look through the next year before you're hopefully back here again, Brett, what's important for people to understand about that portfolio of companies? What are you most excited about?
Well, I'm very excited about the Central Tanami project.
Okay.
And with Mount Gibson now taking over Northern Star's 50%,
right.
They're also very well funded, have a good cash bank. I think we have a real chance of pushing that project forward, and that's one of the best undeveloped gold projects in Australia.
What are the resources and reserves there?
Oh, it's probably 1.5 million ounces.
What sort of grade?
4.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a process plant there already. It's been sitting idle for quite a few years, but we have a plan to develop it quite rapidly. We're going to put an exploration decline in. That'll allow us to drill out and plan the underground mining in detail, but it also gives us access to 6 or 7 stopes we can mine in parallel to doing the drilling for the larger mine plan, which will give us ore to feed the process plant for about 2 years.
So is the plant already there?
The plant's already there. No, it needs refurbishment. It's there, but it needs refurbishment. But what's very important are the permits and the infrastructures there. The tailings dam, the water, the permits and airstrip, all of those things are there, which will allow the project to be developed relatively quickly.
So by when could you be producing what amount of gold?
It'll be a 1.2 million tonne per annum. Is what
at
the
4
thoughts
grams,
of at 4 grams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's plus 100,000 ounces.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's 2 years away, 2.5 years away.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And now that's in Mount Gibson, right?
That's half the Tanami. It's
Yeah.
a joint venture. It was a joint venture between Tanami Gold and Northern Star.
Okay.
Mount Gibson has now bought out the 50% from Northern Star.
Okay, so it sits in 2 companies of which Apex is a shareholder of both.
Yes.
And do they come together at one point?
They're very different companies. Again, to be honest, Simon, to merge 2 companies with common shareholders is harder than to merge 2 companies which aren't. So even if you did a scheme of arrangement, it's much more complicated than if they were completely independent companies. So you could just let them run. Again, the model will probably be the same as we've done at Renison, is to push all of the costs down to an operating company level, at a joint venture level, and then Tanami and Mount Gibson can be like Metals X now, which is an investor in this operating joint venture.
Operating subsidiary.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Good. Anything else people should know about your collective responsibilities?
I think tin is a metal which people don't really understand.
Is it going to be higher or lower in a year's time?
I can't see a lot of new capacity coming on. I can't, what's going to happen macroeconomically is complex. Myanmar and the Congo may come back onto full stream. I don't believe Indonesia ever stopped producing that tin. It just leaked out on the black market. So I can't really see the supply side catching up with the growing demand until some of this new capacity comes on in sort of 2 to 3 years' time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that should support the price.
Should do.
Should support the price. Yeah.
Brett, thanks for coming to the Arlington
Thank you.
Rapallo.
Yeah,
Thanks on behalf of Arlington and Catt Calls.